Hello! I hope you've all been well. This video is a bit different from my last upload, mainly because it's not exactly a tutorial. Rather than show you the step-by-step process on how to make a custom player model for Minecraft, this video is a showcase of my process. Think of it like those old speed paint videos, just instead of a speed paint, it's a speed model. I guess. So for this video, I wanted to make some CPM models for Alice Thymefield and Ukinami Yuzuha from Zenless Zone Zero. These two are upcoming agents for the game who are part of the faction SPOOK. I'm not sponsored by ZZZ at all, I just like these characters. This video will be just a little talk through and explanation of what I personally do to make my CPM models and Minecraft skins. I also want to take a quick moment to say thank you before this video starts. Because of your support on my last upload, I've been able to monetize this YouTube channel. That's something I never thought that I'd ever be able to do, so thank you all so much. I hope I can continue to teach artists and creatives out there, and your support is making that possible. If you want to continue to support me, you can consider buying a commission from me on VGen. My Minecraft skin and CPM model commissions are typically full most days, but I try and get them back open as soon as possible. If you're interested in that kind of commission, you can follow me on VGen, which will notify you whenever my commissions open back up. I also do illustration, character design, and other fun stuff, so check those out too. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the video. Alrighty, so we are starting out first with Ukinami Yuzuha. She is a S-rank physical support character, which in the game terms that basically means support. They can either buff attacks, make you do better stuff, or whatever. Physical is just what type of attack damage she does. S-rank means she's not free. You have to pay for her in the gacha, which, you know, this is a gacha game, what do you expect? So what I'm doing first off here is I'm making a base for the skin. This is something I do both with commissions and most of the time when I'm working on any skin, is I make a base where it's just their skin, nothing else, just so I can focus on the hair, the eyes, the face, to get that down as best as it can look. I always end up starting with the face because that is where most of the time you're looking whenever you're in Minecraft, when you're talking to someone, you're looking at their face, so that ends up being the place where I focus most of my initial work. So here I am laying out the base colors for the outfit. Hoyoverse outfits are kind of notorious for being excessively detailed, and that's kind of one of the things I like about Zenless, is that their details don't feel excessive to me. They still are excessive, let's be honest, but they don't feel as excessive. I think they all have a purpose, and they tell you a lot about the characters, so I actually have a little bit of fun trying to figure out how to translate these complex outfits into just a simple Minecraft skin. Before I shade anything, as you saw with the hair, I usually try and lay down the base colors so I can get that set and ready to go. It just depends on either color picking or color matching. Color picking is just picking from what I see in the image. Color matching is trying to go from what I've picked and trying to make it actually look closer to what my brain is seeing. The fun thing about color is that it's all kind of subjective. Our brains give context to color wherever it is. So that's why rather than doing my typical formatting of hue shifting with the hair, I just tried to make everything kind of red. Because her hair is very red, I didn't want it to shift any other way from it. I mentioned hue shifting, which is a term that probably doesn't make a lot of sense now that I just say it like this. So hue shifting is a shading technique that I've typically seen mostly done in Minecraft skins. There are some artists who use hue shifting as just a part of their illustrative style. Hue shifting is where, through the shading process, you shift what color you're using for shading. Typically, through this color wheel, it'll be closer to purple whenever you are going darker and closer to yellow when it's lighter. The best way to illustrate this is, let's say you are using green and you're trying to shade, you're going to shift the color a little bit closer to blue because it's going closer towards purple. So my shading process kind of mimics how our bodies separate. This is to say that Underneath the arms, I try and make a stark line to mimic where our arms actually connect. It's easier to see mostly when it's in motion, but I think it also kind of shapes the silhouette of a Minecraft skin as well. I also try and shade under where there are big folds, which are things that are on the second layer. So if you look at the arms, currently, if they can come back, there we are. The arms have a secondary layer that is a lighter color than what's underneath it. This is one of those extra folds that I think adds a little bit of definition. It's to me wherever I'd see anything bunched up. So now we're getting into the actual CPM modeling part. This is my favorite part of this process, if I'm honest, because it allows me to actually feel like I can get in those details that are so, I guess, distinctive of Hoyoverse designs, of all these excessive fun little details. I feel like I can actually get them or make them stand out whenever I am doing this modeling. So I typically start out with things that won't be animated because I don't have to worry about what folders they're going into. Anytime I'm animating something within CPM, I always have to worry about, does this have a folder that will work as its anchor point? Because currently, Blockbench does not have a Bones software, or any sort of programming that works with Bones, which basically just means that it doesn't have an easy way to do animation, so I always have to think about what goes where and how I can animate it later. The biggest thing for this model is this little raccoon. I'm calling him a raccoon because we can't see his leaf on his head, so I'm not sure if he's a tanuki, so I'm calling him a raccoon. So it's a bit difficult to do this because it's a whole ass little guy. It's a little man just sitting on her back, and that is a lot of attention, and I had to make sure I got him right because he's just so perfect. He's just a little guy. So while we're here, these things on Ukinami Yuzuha's head, it is very likely that these are cochlear implants, which, if you don't know what those are, cochlear implants are things that some people who are hard of hearing or deaf will get. It will basically just help them hear a bit better. It's not something that all deaf people will get, it's also an option that they don't have it. Some people don't want it. It just depends. The deaf identity is very diverse and complex, with different layers of acceptance for their hearing, or shame for their hearing, or their inability to hear. So it just depends. So you'll have some people who will get a cochlear implant and some people who won't. The fun thing about Zenless to me is that there are a lot of characters with visible disabilities. Von Lycan has lost an eye and his legs, and then you have Yuzuha here who has a cochlear implant. I think that's really fun. I think it's really cool to include these types of characters in games, mainly because there isn't a lot of really good disability rep in most games, so it's really nice to see where it is. Again, most of my time on Yuzuha's model is working on this raccoon, because there is just so much detailing to get. It's a whole other animal that is on her back. So I decided pretty early on that I didn't want to do too much detailing on her herself. I think if I wanted to, I could have gone and made her big twin tails into a model, and that could have been very fun. I may go back sometime later and do that with later models. But because she has this big raccoon on her back that has animations and movement, I was like, let's just focus on making this raccoon look cute, making him look fun, making him fit. He just sits on a little backpack. It's very dear to me. He's just a little guy. So this raccoon has two different colors on it. The darker brown I had already used a few times on Yuzuha's skin, so because color picking from the image didn't work as well, I just ended up making a lighter color from this. I find that with browns, when it comes to coloring, I tend to lean more towards a red tinted brown rather than an orange tinted brown. I think, especially when it comes to these warm colors, as you see in Yuzuha, I think it kind of helps make the color palette more cohesive. Something I'm always striving for when doing character design is having a cohesive palette where does this character look like they would wear everything they're wearing? Does it all have a bit of synergy? Does it look good together? And that's something I always try to do, even when it comes to these Hoyoverse games, where, to me at least, their designs are so not balanced. That's also the benefit of Zenless to me, is that they have very nicely balanced character designs to where they don't feel so mismatched and random pops of color that don't need to be there. Like with Yuzuha, there's this very cohesive color palette. So now we're doing the animation. Luckily, I don't have to do any animation on Yuzuha herself, but I just have to work on this little raccoon. I don't know his name because, she hasn't come out in-game yet, so I'm just calling him a little raccoon. Like a general or something. He's got a little hat on, so I don't know his name, but most of the animation is going towards him. I wanted there to be at least a little bit of movement at all times, so I'm working in this idle animation of just a little bit of a bounce in his legs, because he is just hanging on by a little harness, so his legs are kind of free-falling. You can't see it too much here because the idle animation is clicked on as a global animation, which means that it'll appear during any animation and won't stop. I wanted this raccoon tail to have a bit of bounce to it, so you'll see that I'm messing around with the keyframes a lot. And while I usually try and do a kind of up and down motion when it comes to these keyframes in this waveform, I just went with up for this movement because I wanted it to be very bouncy. Zenless is known for its incredibly bouncy designs, so I wanted to try and mimic that a little bit when it came to this. Admittedly, it's not going to be as amazing as ZZZ's physics, but it still works. One last thing I knew I wanted to do is that whenever you're sleeping in Minecraft, you are laying on your back and there's nothing you can really do about that. So, because I didn't want to crush him, I moved him to be hugged. I moved our little raccoon friend to be hugged whenever he's sleeping. That way, you're not crushing him when you go to bed. It's just one of those small things. So next up, we have Alice Thymefield, who is an S-rank physical anomaly agent. S-rank physical, you know what those mean. Anomaly may be new to you. Anomaly is a type of, I guess, battle strategy for agents. In combat in Zenless Zone Zero, there is an anomaly meter, which basically builds up over time and does a lot of damage whenever it ticks off. That's what her big combat abilities are for. So you might have seen me clicking back and forth to this red pigtail thing. That's because before I started this, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do these very flat, long pigtails. I could have looked at Miku's skins for inspiration, but her pigtails are from the top of her head, while Alice's are from the bottom of her head. So I just ended up trying to mock up what looked right, and then tried to transfer that over to this image. So again, I end up making just a simple base, because I've also heard that there's a chance these two might be getting skins in the game as well, which I think is always fun. Zenless has been doing great with including different skins for the characters in games, so I think that's always very fun to have a chance to possibly do in the future. Alice's outfit is altogether pretty simple. The biggest thing that's complex about her is her belt. Her shoes have a little bit of detail comparatively for what I can do in a Minecraft skin, but I didn't want to worry about those when I was doing the modeling. I mostly just wanted to focus on this big fun belt because I get to do my favorite thing, which is adding glowing bits. I got to do one of my favorite things with this, which is the glowing eyes feature. Some mobs in Minecraft, such as Endermen or spiders, have glowing eyes when you look at them. This is basically what we call an emissive texture, where anything that is on that texture does not get affected by lighting and can sometimes also glow. Mechanically, it adds an add feature. Basically, it glows for what's underneath it. So that's what I plan on doing with Alice's belt. When it comes to just making her base vanilla skin though, there isn't too much I can do for that. It's just kind of making her belt look as much as I can. It honestly doesn't look too much like her actual in-game skin, but that's because, like I said, it's a very complex skin. I enjoy it, but good god, Hoyoverse. One thing I do want to mention is that Alice here is a Thyraryn, which is the in-game name for anyone who is an animal hybrid. She is some sort of rabbit based on her little tail and ears. So what I will have to do when I make her CPM model is her ears I'm gonna have to just erase and make sure that they are just a clean slate so that there isn't any texture showing beneath when I actually have like a modeled ear. I also didn't add her tail on this version of her skin, mainly because it just confused things. Like I said, I like to focus on visual clarity when it comes to Minecraft skins. And if I added in her tail, I worry that it wouldn't really have read as a tail, or it just would have been a weird bit of hair, because she has these really long pigtails, so it's kind of hard to differentiate between the two. So I'm cleaning up here, making sure I have what I want for the CPM model hidden. And so it just looks like just a regular skin. And after that, we are ready to get into the actual model. So much like Yuzuha, I wanted to model in her bow, because I think it's very fun, I think it's cute, I think it's whimsical. I didn't want there to be too much going on with her skin, mainly because there is just so much happening with her belt. I want the focus to be her belt. So there is a little bit on her body with her bow, there's a little bit with her tail, and I'm building up the several pieces that go into this belt. I'm also going to model in her ears and those little red tags that are on her ponytail ball clasp thingies. I really don't know what they are. Do they have a technical name? I mean, they just look like balls? I don't know, they look like golf balls specifically. Alice has golf balls in her hair for some reason. I don't know why. So I find that ears, like bunny ears, can be kind of hard to model for me sometimes, especially the ones that Alice has, because they're cupped and pointed inwards, and they look good on like a silhouette for a regular 3D model, but it kind of feels like pulling teeth sometimes when trying to do it for just a regular CPM model, because Minecraft skins don't tend to have that kind of texture quality. So what I'm doing here is I am making the UV sizes for the little glowing parts on her belt. I'm making them bigger. This is because I want that glowing bit to actually feel big enough but also still kind of small. So what I'm doing here is I am layering two textures. I have my base texture, which is just the plain black with a black center because this is an add texture, which means it'll glow. And then I have a duplicated cube of the exact same size overlaid on top that will be just the green. So the only part of that that will glow will be the green. It's not something I can go too much in depth on in this video because I'm not trying to do a tutorial, I'm just trying to show my process. I also realized that some of these are silver because she doesn't have, again, a lot of visual clarity. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But sometimes there's just really big details that you gotta worry about. I don't plan on going too into detail on how emissive textures work because, like I said, this isn't really a tutorial, it's just a showcase of process. But whenever I do get to making the follow-up to my CPM video, I do plan on talking about emissive textures because I do think they're really fun when you can include them on skins. So here we get to tackle the beast that is the belt. I ended up cutting down on how many belts were actually visible because there's like 3 separate belts in this belt, so I just went with one that drapes and one main one. I think that was pretty good for visual clarity, because again, like I've said, there's a lot of my process that focuses on visual clarity. When you're working on such a small palette of like tiny little pixels, you have to make sure that everything you're making is visually clear. So there are some things that I will sacrifice sometimes when it comes to these Hoyoverse designs, and even then sometimes to making Minecraft skins. Because sometimes I'll have clients who will give me very complex skins and I'm like, I will do my best, but I cannot guarantee that I will be able to make this exactly how it looks because of the complexity of a design. So Alice's ears have these little brown tips to them, and technically her tail does too, but I only added them to the ears because I figured that's just the easiest place to do it. But once all of my textures are done, I copy everything, I extend my texture, which again I'll go into in my whenever I do my CPM follow-up video, because I figured out how to do it in the block bench. Maybe it took a year of updates, but you know. So I get that all copied over. And then we go over to the idle animations and working on animating this. I wanted to make sure that she has a little ear flick animation, which was baked into her idle, because it's fun and cute. But I'm gonna let the animations speak for themselves because I have a little showcase to show you everything. So let's get to that. Thank you so much for watching! If you like these models, if you think they're interesting, if you think they're cute, or you just want to play around with them a bit, you can download them on my VGen. They are pay what you want, although the minimum is $3, because I think at least my work is a little bit worth $3. But I hope you enjoyed! I want to make more of these little modeling videos, because they're a lot of fun, and it gives me an excuse to make some models for some character designs I like. I hope you enjoyed. I hope maybe you learned some things today. I hope that you enjoyed just watching. If you like this, you can go ahead and like the video, you can subscribe, you can do whatever the hell you want. I'm not your mom. I'm not even your dad. Thank you so much. Have a good day.